Good morning or good evening, everyone. I think that now we're ready to start. And today we're here because we're going to speak about McKinsey First Round Case Interview Simulation. I hope that you are as excited, as happy as I am right now. And we're welcome to everyone. So first of all, I would like to start with our agenda for today, as now we have already become a bit closer to each other. Now we know where is everyone from. So let's start with the agenda for today. And I'm going to tell you a bit about the introduction format and rules. Then we're going to dive directly into the interactive case interview simulation, which is going to be led by our coach, Andre Homulenko, and our candidate, Fernando. Then we're going to discuss all this together. And also, I would like to highlight, in case you hear the case, and you know the answer, or you think that you know the answer, don't hesitate, don't be shy, and write down the answer in the chat. So afterwards, we will be able to discuss your options all together and see which is the best solution for the case, okay? So then afterwards, Andre is gonna tell us about the company's mission. You're gonna hear the client references, and the conclusion. Stay tuned because then you're going to receive the bonus materials from us. Speaking about how long it's going to take, all in all, the webinar is going to take about 2 hours. The format and rules are going to take about 15 minutes. Then the interactive, the most valuable part, is going to take about 50 minutes, 25 minutes for feedback and answering your questions. So you can write them into the chat or raise the hand and don't be shy. Then client references for 15 minutes and the most interesting bonus materials. Stay tuned. Now I would like kindly remind you to turn off your cameras and to mute yourself till the end, because we want everyone to feel fine. We don't hear cars or babies on the background. Okay, so let's respect each other and let's start. So again, bonus materials. Keep in mind, stay till the end. Now I would like to introduce you myself. As you already know, my name is Alexandra and I am client manager at Consulting Masters. And today with me is Fernando, our candidate for today. And I think that Fernando would like to introduce himself by himself. Fernando, how are you doing? Are you ready for today's simulation?
Hi, Alexandra. Yes, I am. I'm very excited to be here again.
Yeah, work hard, play hard.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you want to briefly introduce myself?
Introduce, of course. No one knows you.
Nobody knows me. Okay. Okay. Well, hello, everybody. I'm Fernando from Argentina. I have a background in industrial engineering. I work in supply chain operations and the commercial division of a large steel manufacturer in Latin America. I just finished my MBA last week, and that's where my suit got all stained. That's why I'm not dressed for the occasion, and I'm currently preparing looking for a full-time position in management consulting.
Okay, we will forgive you for not wearing suit today. Okay, now I would like to, or not, no, depending on the results of the simulation. Okay, now I would like to introduce you our first coach, Gaurav Bhosle, ex-McKinsey consultant with 10-year plus experience in consulting. And I hear myself. Okay, no, I don't. Now, unfortunately, due to some technological problems, he can't be here with us and he can't introduce himself right now. But I think that Andre is gonna take the possibility to introduce him and himself as well.
All right, I will basically just say a couple of words about Gaurav. So just imagine, hi, I am Gaurav. So, and Gaurav is
Andre,
actually
I
my
Hello.
good friend. Oh, now he's back. So, Mr. Shivu, or how are you called by our clients? Master Shivu, can you please introduce yourself?
Hey guys, this is Gaurav, and sorry for the patchy network because of the technological problem. Or I'm currently in the jungle, so that is probably the reason. But yeah, I think let me make a very quick introduction. So I'm originally a technology guy with some startup experiences. And eventually post MBA, I joined McKinsey in Europe, and it ended up working in McKinsey, and then eventually in Accenture strategy across Europe, Africa, and Asia. The numbers are there for you to see. Over the last 7-8 years, I've been a full-time coach, helping people getting into a career transition into consulting. More than 500, 600 clients have already working across the globe. A majority of them, of course, from McKinsey, given my background and given my very close affiliation with McKinsey. So yeah, I look forward to see the performance of Fernando. Andre is going to interview him, and I really, really encourage you guys to enjoy this case, do this case. This is a very, very McKinsey case. In fact, this case is so close to me because I also had this case in one of the rounds. Yeah. So feel free to solve it on your own, and do participate and enjoy this experience. I look forward to see a lot of you uh, in further practices as well. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Gaurav, for participation. And now we're gonna move to Andre Homulenko, who is gonna introduce himself.
Hi, everyone. I hope you are doing well. Can you maybe just give me some more energy into the chat and write down what exactly would you like to learn in our webinar today? Or maybe you have any specific question which you would like to raise. So please write it into the chat so that I can also feel your energy. For those of you who still don't know me, hi, my name is Andre. I'm a former consultant, and yeah, I'm currently working as a career coach. And together with Gaurav, we help students, MBAs, young professionals, PhDs, and experienced hires like you to get into the leading consulting firms. And I do this for two reasons. One of it is basically because I want to share my consulting experience with the broad majority of people. And secondly, I really want to help you because I got my first internship in consulting just in the middle of the previous financial crisis. And I really know how you could struggle nowadays during the pandemic with not that many openings in consulting becoming even more tough than it used to be before. So therefore, together with Gaurav, we actually we will help you to make this happen for you. I think let me maybe tell you a couple of words about our webinar. So today's webinar will be a little bit different than our previous webinars. I want to do this very interactive with you.
Yeah.
Therefore, we will break it down into a couple of pieces. So what will happen right now? We will also start with the simulation of an interview. As you know, or some of you should know at least, the first round with McKinsey actually could be split it into three key parts. First part is about introduction and personal fit part of the interview, where candidate introduce himself or herself, then also answering some motivational or background questions, or providing also a couple of good stories, actually. And therefore, we want you to be part of it. So after we practice the first part with Fernando, I will do a quick cut in order to see what kind of feedback do we have, or what kind of questions do we have here in the chat to answer some of them step by step. And I also want to give an opportunity to maybe 1 or 2 people from the broader audience to participate in our webinar. And yeah, maybe you would also like to spontaneously answer a couple of my questions, so to say. Afterwards, after the pose, we will continue with the case part together with Fernando. And at the end of the case, Fernando will also ask me a couple of questions as his interviewer. And then we would probably also do something similar from your side. I would try to do it a little bit more interactive for you, to engage you more. So please be active into the chat, raise your hands, and then be open to speak and to solve the case or answer the questions together with us, and ultimately get the most value of this webinar, because I want to make this extremely good learning experience for you. Can we make a deal here? Just put yes into the chat. Guys, would you like to solve the case together with us? Yes,
Yeah,
yes, 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 yes.
That's amazing.
Yes, that's great. All right, cool. Ladies and gentlemen, let's make it interactive. We're here to do this for you, and yeah, we're giving our consultation completely free of charge for you. So let's make it happen, and then afterwards we can also answer all of your questions and do the rest stuff. Okay, all right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to warn you, because this handsome guy on the left side of the slide, Fernando, he is a beginner. He's a liar. He hasn't done so many cases. So if he messes up today, just be patient, first of all, please. And can I ask you to help him to improve? So, and how he can improve? He can only improve if you provide your feedback. So can I ask you to observe Fernando's behavior and be able to support him, to recommend him, to give him advice, what else he needs to improve, because his McKinsey interview with McKinsey Panama is coming soon, and he feels the heat. He's doing his best to prepare. He's still not there, but he really needs your support. And now he really needs the support of all of you. So can I ask you for one favor? Just for 1 single minute. Can you please turn on your cameras right now and give an applause to Fernando so that he really feels your support? All right, ladies and gentlemen, all of you, could you please turn your cameras and even microphones and cheer Fernando up? He's going to solve the case for you.
Fernando, good luck.
Come on, let's go, Fernando. It's easy. It gets easier with practice.
Good luck, Fernando.
Thank you, guys.
Good luck, Fernando.
Feeling the love over here.
Most of all, enjoy it, man.
Will do.
All
Thanks
right.
for the support.
Cool, Fernando. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And now just give me 15 minutes. So please stay silent and turn off your cameras and mute yourself. And please do not disturb us. But feel free to write your questions or to write your comments or to write your feedback into the chat. And then I would suggest let's maybe start with the first part of the interview today with Fernando. Fernando, are you ready to rock?
Of course, man. Born ready.
All right, cool. I will turn off my camera for a moment and we'll be back as your interview.
Okay.
See you.
See you, Andre. I hope it's not Florian again.
Hi, Fernando. It's Dmitry Lapadula from Romania office of McKinsey Bucharest calling. How are you doing today?
Hi, Dimitri. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing very good. Yeah, I also saw that yeah, we both studied at the same school. Yeah, the recruiting colleagues actually asked me to give you a case today. So, Fernando, can you maybe quickly walk me through your CV?
Sure, Dimitri, no problem. Well, I'm from Argentina, and I've always been very curious about industrial process management. That's why I decided to study industrial engineering. And once I was graduated, I wanted to apply all the things that I learned. So I joined the supply chain division of the largest steel manufacturer in Latin America. And for me, it was a beautiful experience because I managed to move throughout all the different departments of the supply chain, such as planning, programming, customer service. And I've been involved always in very interesting projects, such as preparing the company to supply Toyota. And after 6 years in the supply chain, I felt like I already had this rounded knowledge about the product and processes of the company. So I decided to understand how we would make it a business out of it and move to the commercial division. And after 3 years in the commercial division, when I was doing again projects, but this time with the customers, I began to be very curious about also other industries, about what else is beyond the steel and automotive market. So I decided to pursue the MBA in the school that you know very well. And there I discovered management consulting, and this is why I'm here today.
Okay, and what exactly have you discovered in the management consulting?
So the motivations that the things that I discovered that really motivates me to go into consulting is, well, first of all, it's the nature of the job, you know, the base project nature and the diversity of industries. A second reason would be that doing this job, you're always doing it in teams. And finally, I do like and appreciate the career path of consulting. So going to the first point, the diversity and the scope of the projects that I discovered. In my summer internship, I work as a strategy consultant in the internal division of a radiopharmaceutical company. And I really enjoy the fact that I was going really deep dive into one particular stream, emerging back as an expert and delivering knowledge or results and recommendations to that particular stream. So this non-repetitive work that consulting is about, being moving project to project, industry after industry, really motivates me. It's super intellectual stimulating for me. And moving to the second point, that is the working in teams. What I didn't like so much is that I was working alone, whereas in consulting, I would be working not only with teams from the company, but also with the client. And I discovered in my MBA that when you work together with people, contributing and seeing other perspectives, the outcome becomes much, much better. And finally, the third point, which is the career path. I really appreciate this, that starting as an associate, you make the deep dive, you become almost an expert in that stream. And then you move to a more managerial position where you see all the different streams of the project and see how they all end up matching together. And also you start to engage more with the customer. And when you finally become a principal or a partner, you already are such an expert in one area, have such a great knowledge of the customer that you can even anticipate the problems that they may have because you also know their business so well. And for me, that's really valuable, being someone that could actually contribute and help the customer. Does it make sense to you?
Cool. Fernando, why do you think you are a good fit for McKinsey? You know that we receive more than probably 1,000 applications for a Panama office. So why out of 1,000 we need to hire exactly you?
Okay, yes, I know you have you receive a lot of applications per year, but I think that I differentiate myself from others, and mainly by two reasons. The first one is because when I have a very pragmatic approach and to problem solving, and the second is because I'm very emotional resilient. And what do I mean with this? My pragmatic approach is when I'm designing or creating new solutions or new solutions, I always keep in mind how we're actually going to implement this. And I excel at this in my previous job experience. Whenever I had to change the supply scheme to customers, many of them wanted to reduce inventories or lead times in the supply. And one simple solution is for the customer to absorb the inventory. The way that I designed the solutions was always so that both the customer and my company would benefit. So it was actually implementable, or at least implementation. You know, it just doesn't mean that you have a negative impact on the other side because you're doing a good impact on the other side. And the second point is the emotional resilience, is that even in stressful situations, I don't lose control. I always keep smiling and motivating the people around me. I remember when we were, in my past company, we were threatened to be locked down, not by COVID, but by the Union of Truck Drivers. Everybody was running, desperate, trying to ship to the market the goods. I was very calm, saying, okay, we're going to divide this problem into items that are easy to get in the market, difficult to get in the market, customers that work with high inventory and low inventory. And I made this plan with my team so that we can calmly, control the situation. Of that situation?
Yes, and why do you tell this to me?
Because I think that so I'm going to start by the end. I'm telling you this because in consulting, there's a lot of pressure to deliver and a lot of situations in which people can get anxious. So I know how to handle that situation. And the particular outcome of the situation is that I coordinated the team and took off their concerns by giving priorities so that each one can follow. And in the end, we were working very smoothly with clear priorities, knowing what we needed to do. And at the end, we didn't have any negative impact on the market. So we managed to deliver.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, cool. Fernando, if I would speak to your previous boss, what are the 2 or 3 things he would criticize about you?
He would criticize, if we were to talk to Mauro, he would criticize that in an operational level, I'm too focused on details. I was once working in a project that I needed to estimate the outcome, the throughput of one machine. And I remember I spent half a day working in one concept that represented less than 1% of the production of the machine. So it was a lot of time dedicated to a small detail. Another thing he would criticize about me, and as a leader or an interactive way, is that I need to have a very clear, it's difficult for me to know the border between delegation and micromanagement. And I remember when I was working as a key account manager, one of my tasks was to overview one of the projects of the analysts. And I would say that I have an open door policy, but when I asked, but he wouldn't engage with me. So to come up to review the project. So for me, that wasn't kind of a problem there, because whenever he was asked me for help, I would make too much of a deep dive into his problem. So actually going to the other far and micromanaging him.
Mm-hmm. Okay. How did you overcome this problem? about
how did I overcome
micromanagement.
what?
How did you overcome this problem about micromanaging, and what was the negative impact of your behavior?
So the way that I handled this with Sebastian was I would reinforce the fact that I would have the open door policy whenever he wanted, but the way that I changed after his feedback he actually gave me was to check up on him, on his work, on a high level of how he was going to approach the analysis, seeing if they make logic, if they were aiming and going towards the result we wanted to go, and let him know that if there was something particular that he needed, I would check on him, but forcing myself not to go into the details of the Excel if he was using the correct formulas, the correct pivot charts, just high level, step-by-step process of how he was approaching the problem.
Okay, all right. Can you maybe provide me an example of an instance where you needed to negotiate and manage the interests of multiple stakeholders? I would say, I don't know, maybe you had an opportunity to work on big projects with 20 plus people in the team. If you ever had a chance.
Okay. I never had the chance to work in such a large team, but I can, let me give
What
you a
was
minute.
the biggest one?
The
where
biggest
you was
one,
in the leading role and faced the complexity of multiple interests?
8 people, out of which 6 were white collars, and 2 were blue collars.
All right.
So that's the
what
largest
was
one.
the instance and how did you manage it?
Yes. So in this story, I had to fill in as an interim sales manager, coordinating the team of 8 that I mentioned throughout the one financial crisis, as usual, in Argentina. Is that a good story? Do you want to hear?
And why did you pick this story? What is this story specifically interested?
Because in this story, I had to coordinate, I had to overcome with the team 3 challenges. First, I had to renegotiate all the price agreement with all the automakers. Second was to come up with a sales forecast in the middle of the crisis. And finally, to coordinate the internal tasks of the inside sales so that we would be supplying the market in the correct way.
Okay.
Is that something you find interesting
so
too? Okay.
What was the complication and what was the solution or maybe learnings from your side?
Okay. So in terms of the price agreement, the role that I needed to have was to make sure that we would close all the new price agreement with the automakers above or to a certain target. And I had to do this with all the other 4 key account managers that were very diverse in terms of backgrounds and styles. And one paramount issue was the mix that we were going to end up leaving the crisis, right? So it was very important to close it rather quickly. And in the team, I had chemical engineers, business administrators, and even a non-professional person, and each one of them had different approaches. So once I got the target prices that I needed, what I did was I sat down with each one of the account managers to work on the strategy of how to go about it. And I faced different challenges with each one of them because each one has different styles and different timings. For instance, with Toyota, the key account manager, she was more propense to stretch the negotiations because Toyota has a long-term vision. They don't want to close the agreements fast. And if I insisted a lot in closing very fast, first, Melissa would react saying that I was putting too much pressure on her. And the way that I worked with her towards going through the negotiation was presenting all the analysis of how the items that we needed to sell after the crisis, so differentiating those that were high rotation, low rotation, and how was actually going to be the impact for Toyota. And once that I shared with her the approach that I wanted to have, and she understood it, she was confident and sat down with Toyota to negotiate in those lines. And with all the rest of the account managers, I also have similar issues going about it. But then the other problem that I had was with the forecast. How to come up with.
Seems like, Fernando, we are running out of time a little bit. So let's basically move on to the next point.
Mm-hmm.
And here I will do a quick break for Fernando, because I also want you, ladies and gentlemen, to participate in our webinar. So do we have any volunteer who would like to answer one or two questions in a McKinsey consultant manner with me? Please feel free to raise your hands into the chat and make it visible to me, so that Fernando can have a quick break and you also use your chance to participate in the webinar. Any volunteers?
I think it was so terrible that they don't know where to start with.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, please use your chance and be brave enough so that we can have an interactive webinar. Otherwise, we would need to
guys, don't be shy. How do you want to work in consulting if you are afraid to join us today?
Yeah, so Subhadeep said yes. Subhadeep, would you like to turn on your video camera and continue the conversation? Just one or two questions. Subhadeep, are you here? Oh, okay, Subhadeep has bad network. All right. Anyone else? Voice only will not work. We actually need to see each other. All right. So if no one else is actually willing to participate, then let's basically. Oh, Jeff. Jeff wants to participate. All right, Jeff, could you please turn on your camera so that I can see you? Meantime, could you please write down your comments for Fernando? So how did you like the fit part with him? And how would you assess it? What was good, or what are the things which Fernando maybe needs to improve? After the quick two questions with Jeff, I will also ask our expert Gaurav to provide the feedback, and then we can also move on to the case part. All right, cool. Jeff, sounds like you are ready. Fernando, can we give an applause to Jeff, as he is very courageous one?
Vamos, Jeff.
All right, Jeff, go for it. So, Jeff, can you maybe tell me a little bit more about what is not mentioned in your CV?
Sure. I think one part of my CV that could be quite interesting is that I'm an individual who is quite academically curious, and I don't think that that's easy to explain in my resume. So in my time in school, so basically to begin with, my background is in mechanical engineering. And I think that there is a box of assumptions that people do place into engineers. Besides engineering, my background in engineering, I have displayed academic curiosity, going out of my comfort zones to take modules like public speaking, employment law, programming, and venture capital account, and also modules like accounting and marketing. So I think going beyond my core competency, which is engineering, and venturing out into these different aspects and different topics put me as an all-rounder, as an individual who is able to see from a bigger point of view and from a helicopter point of view. And I think
why do you think this is important for me to know?
Yeah, because I think as a consultant, you need to be able to have a great and helicopter point of view to evaluate things from multiple different points of view. And I've made the effort to go out to despite risking my academic score and not doing well in many of such modules, I made it a point to ensure that I've done so. And I think this is something that I would like to highlight.
All right, cool. Thank you very much for sharing, Jeff. Can you maybe tell me, like, what do you think has been the most challenging situation which you've ever faced, and why do you think so, and how did you handle it?
I would say the most challenging situation would be I would describe a situation whereby I was given a very short period of time to pick up financial modeling. Would that be a good example?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, to begin with, the whole situation was that there was a departure of a key member of our investment group. And what happened was that the member was in charge of the financial modeling. And obviously there was a gap in the team. The deadline to pass that project was coming very soon, and there was no one that was able to take up this 3-statement investment financial modeling. As such, being the youngest member in the team and coming from a background of an engineer, financial modeling and finance is a topic that is not the most relevant to my current job scope. But I took that up, and within 2 weeks, I was able to understand the basics, of course, with the help of my team, to understand how the financial model, the Excel, actually works. And within
Jeff, what was the most challenging in that situation? I don't get your point.
The most challenging part was to learn the whole financial modeling from scratch, and especially under the pressure of time, to present it to senior management and to pass the investment.
So okay, and what have been your learnings out of this situation?
My learnings are
except of the knowledge of financial models.
So I think beyond that, all the technical knowledge and financial model, I think the biggest takeaway is the confidence to be able to do anything difficult. So from now, I think that experience gave me the confidence. If you were to give me a task, I'll be able to break it down and tackle it, no matter how difficult it may be. So I think that's the biggest.
All right, cool. Thank you very much, Jeff, for your story, and also thank you very much for your courage to speak out. Well done. Actually, yeah, just a quick feedback for you to improve. I think for spontaneously was not bad, but generally speaking, you need to work on the 3 things. First of all, you need to structure better your answers in the more top-down and more specific manner. Secondly, you also need to become concise and come faster to the point. Otherwise, the interviewer will start interrupting you and ask specific questions. And third, I was not always able to understand your accent or the way you speak. Either, I don't know whether it's connection or whether it's the nature how you articulate yourself. It was sometimes a little bit challenging for me to understand specifically what are you talking about. All right, cool. Nevertheless, thank you very much. Very brave from your side. And I also hope that this feedback is helpful for you and others to learn. And I would also encourage other people to participate in future. All right, Gaurav, Mr. Shivu, How was Fernando's take so far?
I think since last time, I think Fernando has improved. So the thing he started well. His confidence is good. Resilience, of course, is very nice, no doubt about it. But of course, I think there are few improvement areas. For example, the why consulting part, which came out of as a probing question from you, the answer was too long. I mean, it was almost getting boring. So please try and restrict the answer to 2.5 to 3 minutes maximum. Keep it crisp. Okay. Why should we hire you? Pragmatic and emotional resilience. Both the points are good, but both are soft points, Fernando. You need to have some hard points, and you are an experienced candidate. So you should be talking about your sectorial spike. Yeah. You have done consulting internships.
Gaurav,
Hello guys, can you hear me?
Yes, now you're audible. So just
The
repeat
internet
from
on.
what you've mentioned after industry experience.
Okay, so what I was trying to tell you is, given that you have an industry experience, you should be able to add a hard point, like you have a spike in a particular sector. You have done internship in strategy, so you have understanding on strategy front. So all these things, hard points, you should also be adding. Don't make this answer all about the soft points. Yeah, because very simply speaking, soft points are not verifiable. I don't know whether you are practical or not, you are pragmatic or not. I will not be able to verify it. Okay, so keep probably one point which is soft, but other points need to be hard. Okay. What is it that your boss will criticize you on? Detail orientation, micromanagement. I don't think that this is the question that you have prepared. I think this just came impromptu. So detailed orientation, micromanagement, almost they are very similar. And secondly, they don't go well with your previous answer of being pragmatic. Normally, somebody who is a pragmatic problem solver, he would not be a micromanager. He will be an 80-20%. Yeah. So it did not go well. So there is an inconsistency. And then negotiation answer. And in fact, I will also add Jeff over here that, see, whenever you guys start an answer and after one sentence, ask the interviewer that, is it a good story that you want to hear? You can only do that if you have a headline which has an impact. So please add an impact in the headline, a quantifiable impact that, I'm going to tell you an instance where I did X, Y, Z that resulted into A, B, C. And then you can probably, if you want to, you can ask that, is this a good story to tell? If you don't tell me the impact as an interviewer, what do I tell you? How do I know whether the story is strong or not? Yeah, it's senseless, right? So make a good headline first, which includes impact. Okay. And by the way, Jeff, I don't know whether you have got the right way definition of helicopter view. Helicopter view doesn't mean that you need to only be aware of multiple topics. Yeah, helicopter doesn't stay in the air all the time. It also lands, right? So you going for multiple courses, but then compromising on your score in mechanical engineering or whatever it is, yeah, doesn't display helicopter view. Helicopter view means you having a broad overview, but at the same time have an ability to go into the details. Yeah. So this up and down, yeah, thinking like that or demonstrating that ability is helicopter thinking. Okay. So just align your answer to that. Yeah.
All right, cool. I also have Fernando. Would you like to hear some feedback from my side as well?
From Andre or from Dimitri?
Yes. From Dimitri, you can actually get it. So what would Dimitri pass also, yeah, so of course I see that you have improved since the last time over the webinar, but please make sure that next time you become even more structured in your first question, like walk me through your CV. I still don't see these 3 pillars like your education, your professional experience, and the reason why you're sitting here. You're still telling this like a story instead of doing this in a more structured way. And it's a little bit disappointing for me to hear or to provide you this feedback already a second or third time in a row. So maybe it's time to implement it finally. Secondly, what I also observed is that you again still need to work more on your structure and to become more top-down in your communication. For example, like what were the 3 things to criticize? Then I don't know. You say, oh, give me just a moment. It's probably it have been 1, 2, 3. So reason number 1 was blah blah blah, and then you give the details. Reason number 2, blah blah blah, and then you give the details. And then you need to still become more concise and a little bit shorten your communication from all the points which still have not been mentioned by Gaurav. But otherwise, I already see that your confidence and your familiarity is increasing from webinar to webinar. And also, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, Fernando is not yet perfect. He's just a beginner. He's moving on towards becoming an intermediate candidate. But yeah, can you actually please give him an applause one more time to support him before we move on for the case part? All right, let's go, let's go, let's go.
It wasn't so bad, really.
Yeah, all right, cool. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for your support. So, Fernando, Dmitry will be back soon. Hi, Fernando. So, yeah, shall we basically move on to the case?
Sure, Dimitri. Let's get started.
All right, cool. So our client is a Moldovan coffins company, which is a high-end coffin maker in Moldova. Moldova is an Eastern European country, and it has a population of roughly 4 million people. At least according to the data which is available. So the owner of Moldovan coffins business has seen substantial change in his market in recent years and is contemplating the future of his business. So up until now, he has been pretty much successful in the business of building high quality, handcrafted coffins, largely produced by hand with a skilled labor force. And recently, however, he has become aware that the new technology is coming that would allow him to build machine-made coffins with much less labor. So what do you think? Should the owner invest in this technology, and should he remain in the coffin making business in the first place? Why or why not?
Okay, Dimitri. So basically, the concerns of the customer is whether or not to stay in this business, in the coffin industry, and whether or not to invest in this new technology. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Business. Perfect. And just to understand better the context, when you say that he observed changes in the market, you meant only by this new technology, right? the appearance
Well,
of this new technology.
He has recognized that some of the foreign players in the market or in other markets are adopting this new technology.
Okay.
And he's thinking whether this could be a strategically good alternative.
Okay, so yes, it's basically the new technology that he's aware in the market. And in order to make these decisions, whether or not to stay in the business or to invest or not, does the owner of Moldavian Coffins has any particular decision rule, a target or KPI that he says, I'm going to stay in, such as profits or revenues?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good question. Of course, it's basically, can you maybe think out loud on if you were an owner, what kind of considerations would you take into account whenever you would to make this decision?
Sure. So on a very personal level, if the motivations that I want to be, do I want to be in this business, yes or not? Do I want to leave this business to kids, for instance? That could be some personal motivations to stay in the business, or because it's also a family tradition, so more soft side. But then moving to a more business or profitability sense, I would definitely assess if this is good business. By that I mean, if it is profitable now, if it's going to be profitable in the future. Sadly, this is a business that has to do with the death, the disease, the death of people. So people are still dying. So it's not just the profitability now, but how much is it going to change in the future due to longer expectancy of life, for instance. And if I have to make the investment, what is the expected return on this investment that I need to have? Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Okay, maybe are there also any further parameters which you might be taking into account?
On the business or overall?
On the business.
On the business. So it's profitable. I would ask myself, is it going to grow, yes or not? How fast can I recover the investment? The amount, well, but that's part of I was going to say the investment that I need to do, but that's the return on investment again. Let me think.
While you are thinking, I will also request the webinar participants to write down their way of thinking and structuring this case in the chat, so that we can also have a productive discussion over there. So, Fernando?
So another thing that I would consider for the business part, it's the competition that I would face in implementing this, because you mentioned that the competitors are also going through this technology adoption. So how easy it would be for me to stay in the market, stay competitive in the market? If I don't use this technology and I do require this labor, specialized labor, what's the current state of this on my personnel? Is it easy to replace? Is it not easy to replace? I would also consider that.
Okay, all right, sounds good. So what do you think, what are the key strategic alternatives that the owner of coffin business can consider? Maybe you could write them down as a sort of an issue tree.
Sorry, can you repeat the question? I was changing the computer setting. Can you please repeat the question? Sorry.
Yeah, so what do you think, in your opinion, what could be the strategic alternatives that the owner of the coffin business can consider?
Okay.
Maybe you could express them in a way of decision-making tree.
Yes. Give me just a minute, please. So Dimitri, the way that I would assess the different alternatives for the way that I would approach this is basically on 4 levels. The first is the strategy for the owner has in mind, the profitability of each one of the alternatives, what is the competitive landscape that I might face, and final, some other aspect to consider in each one of the decisions, right? So on a strategy level, as I mentioned before, adopting new technologies or remaining with new technologies, if that's something that is aligned with my strategy, because I am a producer, the customer is a producer of handmade coffins. So I need to understand if this new technology will actually maintain the quality that I want to have. Also, if this going with this initiative is, what is my cost of alternative, my cost of opportunity? What alternatives do I have? Going to the profitability level, I would go with the assessment of the investment that I need to do in order to adopt this new technology. What is the pricing that I can put to this new coffins? And what is the estimated market that I can reach with this new product? Final, and on the third level, the competitive landscape you mentioned, there are several foreign players, but they're not currently in Moldavia. So I would see what is their product offer, what is their pricing point, and what are the potential, the competitive advantages, and if they're able to penetrate the Moldavian market. And finally, other aspects that I would need to consider is, if I go with this project and if I fail, what happens? Can I actually leave the business? Is there like an exit barrier for this business of like regulations that we might need to be aware of?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Do you think?
Right. That was probably not what I exactly expected from you. I think, yeah, it's more or less a little bit easier. It's basically either to stay in the market or to leave it. If we stay in the market, do we operate as it is at the moment, or do we operate through investing in the new technology? And if we leave this market, then do we sell the business to another business owner, or do we simply sell the assets of the company piece by piece and shut it down? All right. Okay, but how would you figure out the current value of the coffin business? Can you maybe provide additional insights on that?
Yes.
How would you estimate the market size, for example?
So how I would estimate the market size? Okay. I would do a top-down approach to this. You mentioned in Moldavia we had 4 million people. So the way that I would segment the population into 4 segments, being the last one, those are in the segment of 70 plus, which is the segment that I expect to disease in the short term. Then with that, I have the number of users. I don't know how to tell this in a proper way. And I would affect this by a growth rate in the population, if there is any. And finally, so far I would have like in the number of total disease per year. Then I would try to put an estimate on what actually, because you mentioned we are high-end product. So not all the population goes for the product. So it puts what's the amount, the percentage of the market we can capture. And finally, I would affect that number by the price of the coffin. Does that sense to you?
Okay. Yes, sort of. So I have the following data for you.
Okay.
The population of Moldova is about 4 million people, and the population growth is 0%. The average life expectancy is 75 years, and you can assume that there is a flat age distribution in this society. And Bureau Customs says that 75% of deaths are buried in coffins. So
yes,
yeah, can you maybe assess the size of the market?
Okay. Should we, okay, this is the total market of coffins, not specifically the high-end coffins that a customer does, right? Okay. So please give me a minute. So what I'm trying to do here, Dimitri, is, as I mentioned before, I have the total population, 4 million, and you mentioned that the life expectancy of the people is 7 million. So I'm trying to assess what is the annual.
No, the life expectancy is 75 years.
Years, sorry. So I'm trying to assess which is the number of deceased people per year, knowing that I don't have any growth rate. So I'm gonna assume, or this will actually implies that this number is fixed every year, right?
Sorry, so say again, please.
The population, it's not growing. You mentioned we have a flat distribution, so we can. So I can evenly divide. I will have a constant number of deceased people per year. This is what it implies.
Yes.
Okay. So it's fair to say that I have evenly distributed ages throughout the 4 millions. So this is 4 million divided 75 years.
Yep.
And this is, give me please a minute to do this calculation.
Can you guys maybe also write down into the chat how you would calculate this and what are your outcomes?
So I'm getting 266,000 deaths per year. So people that are within the range. So what I'm doing is dividing the 4 million times 75, because I know that I have this population is evenly distributed within the 75-year range. So I know I have, the division will give me the number of people that have 75 years. And I'm getting 266,000 per year. Oh, but wait, I can easily simplify this because I also have to affect this by the 75%. So this is actually 4 million divided 100. So this is total 40,000 deaths that's actually use a coffin each year.
Exactly.
So
yeah,
so that's
you're
quicker.
absolutely right.
But as we mentioned before, this is the total market size of coffins, and we only focus on high-end coffins. So do you think we can do some assumptions in terms of high-end and not high-end coffins for the market sizing?
Well, it's basically, I have the following information for you.
Mm-hmm.
So, the coffins are priced at $5,000 for a handmade high-end coffin. And material accounts for 10% of the direct costs, while labor accounts for other 90%. So COGS is $4,800 per coffin. Fixed costs for the business are something about 700,000 per year, or 0.7 million. So
Okay.
assume that all assets are fully depreciated, and you may also ignore the taxes. With regard to competition, the Moldovan coffins has a 10% of the market share and a relative market share of about 1. It
Sorry,
basically means that the ratio of the company's market share is equal to its nearest competitor. Yeah, and with regard to market trends and regulation, well, these are exogenous factors, so you can assume that the market is expected to continue as it is. So can you maybe calculate the value of the business for now?
Okay.
Specifically, I would like to know the margin per coffin, contribution margin, and profit.
What did you say before contribution margin and profit?
I want to know the margin per coffin,
okay,
and the contribution margin and profit.
Perfect. So the margin per coffin is the 5,000 minus the 4,800. So it's basically $200 per coffin. And then the contribution margin, what I assume you mean, if I understood you correctly, it's this contribution margin per coffin affected by the total volume of Moldavian coffins. So that would be this $200 per coffin affected by the 40,000 of the total market times the 10% that is the market share of Moldavian coffins. But I wanted to check with you, when you mentioned about the market share of our customer, then I kind of lost you. It's the 10% of the total market?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's 4,000 coffins, and we can assume this coffins per year will remain the same. So the gross contribution margin is $0.8 million, $0.8 million per year. And you mentioned that the fixed cost is 0.7, so the profit is $0.1 million per year. Now, because you all wanted to know the value of the business, this is the business. If I go with, now what I would like to see is, okay, but how many years should I consider this profitability? Because you also mentioned that there's no depreciation. All the assets are already depreciated, so you have no, I assume there will be no other capital investments to run the business as it is. So now it's assessing the current value is basically a net present value calculation with this profitability. That does make sense to you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so then my question is, what is the discount rate for this?
You can assume about 10%.
Okay, this is 10%. So the net, and do you think it's fair to assume a perpetuity here? Or should we consider only a fixed amount of years?
You can also assume the perpetuity here.
Okay, so if it is a perpetuity, the way the net present value is calculated is basically the profitability of 0.1 million per year, dollars per year, divided by the interest rate, which is 0.1. So this is the net present value for continuing the business is 1 million. Right, with $1 million. But you mentioned when you suggested this, when you mentioned the structure, that I can leave the business. So the total value of the business should be these two alternatives, right? Keeping going with the business or exiting the business, right?
Right.
So if I leave the business, I could sell it. Two things can happen. I could sell it showing an investor this net present value, and he would pay me the same as this. So in both scenarios, the net present value is 1 million, or I can sell it for a different value. Like, I don't know, scrapping all the machines that I have, selling the business. So
yeah. Okay.
And
exactly.
what do you think?
You're absolutely right in that conclusion. In fact, I just want to give you another alternative. So, so now, what is the value of the company if it were to shut down and the assets were sold? I can offer you some of additional information, so that the book value of the land is about 20,000 US dollars. The book value of improvements is about 80,000, and it has been owned for 48 years, and the average real estate appreciation is 6% per year. Would you be able to calculate the value of its assets separately?
So today, the land, so no, the book value, the land doesn't depreciate. So for the past 48 years, it has kept the 20,000, the book value, but the market value has been increased year by year by a 6%, right? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have the value of the land. So the value will be the value of the land, plus the value of the improvements, because that's value added. You put it into the machines. So if I were to sell it, I would capitalize on that value of improvements. Okay. So the land is going to be the 20,000 US dollars times 1 plus the 6% to the power of 48.
Can you maybe explain me what are you going to do?
So the value,
jump to calculations.
Yes, exactly. So the value of the business, you mentioned we have the book value and the improvements that I did, right? So the total value that I would sell is the value of the land, the value of the current machineries, but you mentioned that they were fully depreciated, so the book value is 0, but I invested it then, so the value is plus the value of the improvements. If I were to shut down the business, correct?
Yeah.
So I would break it down into those three, out of which the one in the middle, the machines, is 0. So this is the value of the land plus the value of the improvements. Correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all right, sounds good. Fernando, we are just running a little bit out of time. So, you know, you will figure out as the result of your analysis that selling the business by assets will bring you 1.6 million US dollars. So what would be your final recommendation to the business owner?
I would, in that case, I would recommend the business owner to sell the business by their asset, because he would get a net profit of 0.6 million as compared to keeping the business as it is. I would also do as a next steps, I would do an analysis of what is the cost of the value of the business if we implement the new technology. And that's it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, sounds good. Cool.
Cool.
Thank you very much. So, yeah, I was actually wondering whether you have any questions to me before we leave.
Yes, Dimitri, I do have. I couldn't help but notice on LinkedIn that you had a meteoric career and that you jumped very quickly from consultant associate to manager. And what I wanted to know from your side is, what was the key factors of your success in your career moving from associate to manager?
Let me think about it, because I was just jumping so fast between the positions that it's hard to remember what was that specifically on the move from associate to manager. But generally speaking, the move from associate to manager is probably one of the most challenging in consulting career. It could be compared to the move from principal to partner. The reason why I'm saying this is because on that specific move, the company probes you extremely. And so many people are leaving McKinsey even without becoming an engagement manager. And if I recall everything correctly, so for me, it was essentially important to take over the responsibility not only for my stream, but also for the entire team on the one hand. And on the other hand, to develop my stakeholder management skills so that I can easily negotiate between my partners, my client, and my team, and manage the complexity of that. And thirdly is, of course, about my communication skills. All in the nutshell, I would say what helped me specifically a lot was my buddy and my mentor, who coached me for that specific role. And of course, the challenges I were exposed to, which helped me to grow and broaden my horizon.
And well, thank you for that, because my next question was going to be exactly that. What resources did you leverage on? So you mentioned a lot of aspects, but now you mentioned the buddy and your coach. So that's actually was going to be my second question. And how did you?
The buddy and my mentor. So,
and the mentor.
You know, like within consulting, I was very happy that from the day one, I maintained a good relationship with my buddy, who was 2 years older than me, like from the intake. And he already passed this way. And he explained me what specifically, where is the gap, so that I could move on faster than he did in his times.
And did you take any specific actions with the feedback that he gave you? Like, okay, now I'm in this specific situation. What were the actions that you actually followed to make sure you were incorporating the feedback you were receiving to improve? Do you remember any of those?
The feedback from him because we were not, we didn't have a chance to work together. But for instance, he gave me with his recommendations, with his learnings, like what didn't work in that case and what worked well. So I was able to learn from his mistakes and from his best practices. and directly apply them. And it saved me a lot of efforts and sleepless nights from my side.
Okay. Very
Does
good.
that make sense?
Yes, yes, totally. I think it's kind of hard for me to imagine how our recommendation or advice, I mean, that is not from someone who saw you, how easily for you was for him to give you feedback and for you to implement the recommendation. But I do understand how it works. So thank you for sharing.
Sure. This is, by the way, also the same what we do with our clients, or what we do, what I, as Andre and Gaurav, do with you, especially in our VIP alumni program, where we share all the bad things which happened to us when we were in consulting on our own, so that you can learn from our failures and don't need to repeat them, because learning from failures of others is probably, one of the most valuable experience. And of course, you will also learn from the best practices in consulting, which you could copy and apply to your specific situations, which will give you the guidance to boost your future career. All right, Fernando, any further questions to Dimitri?
Yes, Dimitri, let's assume this is operations in Panama, something like that. What were the things that you wish you knew before you went to Panama that I should be aware of, perhaps, about the life in Panama?
Fernando, thanks for this great question. I think I'm not the right person for that. I've never been to Panama, even though I had projects in North America, but I didn't visit that very beautiful country.
Me neither.
So feel free to talk to my colleagues in the next round about this. All right, Fernando, thank you very much for your interesting participation and for this interview. Our HR will get back to you with regard to the next steps.
Thank you very much, Dimitri. Looking forward to it.
Take care. Bye-bye.
You too. Well, at least it was much, much better than Andre. That's for sure.
Look, just to explain to you and to everyone, I didn't want to play it very harsh as it could be in McKinsey way, because you are still learning and I don't want to demotivate you. Therefore, I played it softly this time so that you can keep on learning and gaining the momentum, because you need to continue practicing, and this was a pretty good exercise. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, what do you think about the performance of Fernando? Can you please put your comments into the chat? Was it good or was it bad? What do you think? I'm very eager to hear this from you. Can you please provide Fernando with the feedback? And can you please also turn on your cameras and give Fernando an applause? All of you guys. Even my wife is applauding to you.
Good work. You did great.
Yeah, so Fernando, well-deserved applause.
Thank you all.
All right, cool. Guys, could you please now turn on your cameras? No need to shy. I think we're now moving to the most interesting part of the webinar, where we can also handle your questions. And yeah, Fernando, what's your personal take?
I think I started kind of bad because I was still like focused on, I could not remove like the fit from my head. I did so bad. But then throughout, when I realized, hey, I need to focus on this after the market sizing, and we went more into the business part, I kind of regained, I think, my confidence and perform a little bit better. But it was from worst to better to some extent.
Okay. What are the things which you would like, which you didn't like in your performance? Maybe any specific aspects? What would you like to improve moving forward? And guys, could you please also mention into the chat, like, what did you like in Fernando's performance, or what do you think, what are the clear improvement areas for him?
So in one particular part, Andre, that was when you mentioned about the value, you said like, I want to calculate the value. And then you said, I want to calculate the market size. I felt like you were rushing me. And I started saying out loud how I would do the market size. Probably I could have tried to regain control, pause a little bit, think it, and be more structured in the communication. Like I would do this, going through this. Do you think it's okay? I think that's a part of what I should definitely improve.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Cool.
Among others.
Gaurav, do you have any specific feedback for Fernando? All right. While Gaurav is actually working on his connectivity, I don't know, we have some issues today with the internet in India. I will also provide you a couple of my observations throughout the case. So I think that starting on the right foot for you in this case was a little bit challenging today. Maybe, as you mentioned, the stuff from the personal feed part or from the initial part of the interview has affected your performance. And this is also something which we need to work on in our training to continue working to help you out to fix this challenge a bit. So because what people with McKinsey interviews, they are always, so Demetrius would be looking at your ability to perform consistently. So no matter what kind of curveballs you will receive, guys are always probing you for your ability to maintain your high performance consistently from the round to round. That's why one of my recommendations to you and to everyone in the webinar is actually to practice those interviews and those mocks like one after another. So for example, schedule like 3 or 4 interviews, like one after another, for example, in the morning or in the afternoon, so that within 4 hours, you have 4 mock interviews, simply to test out whether you are capable to maintain your high performance over the time. In that specific case, I like that you clarify the questions. You asked me some clarifying questions. Then at the very beginning, you already had like a sort of a good structure to think about whether you want to keep this business or whether you want to get rid of this business. What I was missing in that is like a sort of an issue tree or a decision tree, where like, what do I want to do? 2 options: keep the business, sell the business. Okay, if keep the business, do I want to invest in the new equipment, or do I want to maintain and operate as it is? And then on the second half, the other structure, if I want to sell this business, do I want to sell it as a complete business or by pieces? By assets. So this was the clarity which I was missing from your side. And I want you to be structured in the way you present and in the way you communicate all the time. As you see, I'm not jumping into much details. I'm always going layer by layer in the top-down manner, because what I have observed from you in your communication, you don't even describe me the approach, but you actually already jumped directly into calculations. Like you said, I want to multiply this and that. And this is extremely easy. This is extremely difficult for me as an interviewer to follow you when you do like this. And imagine, Fernando, how would you confuse the interviewer if you would have done any error in your calculations?
Yeah, he wouldn't know when I got stuck.
Yes, you would have completely confused him. So your good luck was in the way that your math was accurate. And I was simply able to follow your logic due to the good outcomes. But the approach, I didn't like it. You first, and my recommendation to everyone here sitting in this webinar room is, please, guys, could you first outline the general approach, how you are going to do the things, and only then proceed with the calculations? Can you please write down into the chat whether it is clear for you and whether this makes sense for you? So please write yes or no into the chat so that I can also see whether you can follow me. Yes, 100%. Thank you, Yomna. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, all right. And guys, could you please also turn on your camera so that I can see you? Otherwise, it's just a little bit challenging for me to give this webinar in front of the people whom I don't even see. So yeah, Yomna, thank you very much for turning on your camera. Oliver, Jeff, Chiara, Alexandra, Franklin, Gaurav, Bradley, Alina, and all other guys, I would also highly appreciate if you could turn on your cameras. Okay, so now, Fernando, as you have explained your logic, you first need to get the agreement from my side, like whether this logic makes sense, and whether it's okay for you to proceed with this. And then please walk together with me. I mean, you mentioned in your personal feed that you like collaborative way of solving the problems. So don't only talk the talk, but also walk the talk. So also say and be consistent to what you declare in the first part of the interview. So walk me together as your interviewer through the logic, and then walk me together with you through the calculations while announcing intermediate steps for me. And Fernando, really great business knowledge. I'm happy to see that IESE has done a proper job in a business education for you so that you know all those return on investment formulas and that you didn't get confused and that you applied the right logic over there, which is a big compliment to you and your business school. But there are other things you still need to work on, and they are even more important. It's not about of course, it's good to have the right outcome, but what I, as an interviewer, is assessing is exactly the way of your thinking and the way of your communication, whether you can walk me through your logic and whether this logic is consistent and correct and structured. Does that make sense to you?
Guys, oh, yes, completely.
Guys in the webinar, does it make sense to you as well? Can you just nick like this or like this so that I can also receive some feedback from your side? Either like this or like this. So, yeah, makes sense, right? And please also write down into the chat whether you are able to follow me. Okay. Yeah, and then Fernando, with regard to your questions at the end, I think they were okay. So keep on doing and keep on practicing them, and also show even more empathy to the person whenever you speak at the end. I know it might be challenging for you, especially after you have done the personal feed part and the case part and you face the challenges, but you still need to be smiling and positive for the last 5 minutes of the interview to make the best possible impression. Does that make sense? All right, perfect, cool. Is it helpful for you guys? Guys in the interview, in the webinar, and feel free, you can also turn off your turn on your microphones, and we can actually have a good discussion over here. So if you have any questions here, or if you need any specific feedback or help, just raise your hand like this, or raise your hand into the chat so that I can answer your questions together with Gaurav right now. Do you have any questions? All right, Yomna, I was waiting for you.
Yes. Perfect. No, thank you so much, Andre, and everyone on this call, especially Fernando, for walking us through that. And I even typed my question down. I think it really helps when we see how he answered the case and how everyone is thinking about the case, but then actually walking ourselves again through the case itself and evaluating the actual answer. I know there is no right or wrong answer, but it would be great to get a solid answer and of the issue tree and how they actually walk through the math, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so Yomna, actually, Fernando was extremely lucky. I don't know how he did this. His logic was not always 100% consistent, but he actually did it. And he solved the case exactly in the right manner. And he also came to the right outcomes throughout his math, throughout the assumptions he did. So this was exactly the right manner, even if I'm a little bit surprised about the approach he used. But please be patient with Fernando. He's just the beginner and he's learning, and we will make sure that whenever he gets the interview, he will actually convert it into offer. All right, cool. Thank you very much, Yomna, for your question. Any further questions? By the way, while another person is raising the hand, I just saw the question from Vivek Manchala, whether a candidate, an engineer, can get into consulting without an MBA. Vivek, can you maybe also turn on your camera so that I can address the answer to you? The quick answer is yes, because just last week, one of our candidates or one of our clients who has an engineering background without an MBA, he has received 2 offers in consulting and is going to join one of the consulting firms just next week on June the 6th. So it's yes. And now you can also, if you want to figure out how you can do this, feel free to book a call with our client manager. The links will now appear also in this chat to figure out how you could be able to do this. All right, cool. So let us basically also move on. Does anyone else has a question?
Yeah, and actually, that being said, I had a call with one of your people. I don't remember his name on top of my head, and it's been like 2 weeks or 3 weeks now. He told me he's gonna send me the prices and stuff, but I haven't heard anything. So am I supposed to email back, or like he didn't email me anything? So to what email will I send back in regards?
I would suggest, let's basically I will simply send this link in the chat one more time. It's with our client manager, Alessa Kim. I know whom you are talking about. The guy, unfortunately, needed to take some rest because of the health issues. I'm sorry for this inconvenience. If that's okay for you, Yomna, could you please then simply book the call with Alessa Kim? I shared her Calendly here, and I would be very happy to help you out after you speak with her for the first instance.
Great,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you very much, Yumna. Any other questions? There is also a question from Bradley Butcher. If you are studying the political science and world politics bachelor's degree, is there any such relative position in the company, perhaps some foreign office? Do you have any suggestions on the master's degree to be successful in consulting? I will duplicate again. Yeah, so Bradley, actually, it's not a big problem whether you are studying politics or law or philosophy or reading or whatever it is, simply due to the fact that nowadays leading consulting firms like BCG, McKinsey, Bain, Roland Berger, Strategy, and others, all of them are going for diversity, which means that they are looking for people with different backgrounds, not only in business and economics or engineering, but they are also open to law, to political science, etc., etc. And especially female candidates, I would encourage you to start working with us very soon, because now lots of consulting firms are specifically looking also for female candidates, and you have really great chances. And so far, we also have helped more than 20% of our clients are also women, and I would even say more than 60% of our employees are very smart and intelligent and good-looking females, as for example, our moderator, Alexandra, today. So you ladies, you have a lot of opportunities in consulting, and I really want to encourage you for this career. And of course, gentlemen, this stays the truth for you as well. All right, cool. Any other questions? Anything which you would like to raise or receive feedback, or do you have any questions? Just raise your hand like this, or speak out into the camera. My wife has a question. Yeah, what do you want to ask?
When are you finished?
Yeah, my wife is waiting at me for dinner. So therefore, all right, guys, if you don't have any questions, I still have a couple of gifts for you. And I want to tell you a little bit more about our company. So on the next page, what actually makes me, Gaurav, and our team extremely proud is that we don't only combine 12 years of expertise in consulting, of being working in Western Europe, in Eastern Europe, in South Eastern Asia, Africa, or in the US, but we are extremely proud for our mentees. And we are extremely happy that our company was able to help already more than 600 people who have already started working in consulting over the past 3 years, and more than 200 of them have received the job offers from the leading MBB firms like top 3, McKinsey, BCG, Bain, and more than 400 other clients have started working in those companies like Roland Berger, Strategy, and Kearney, Oliver Wyman, Big Four, or other boutique consulting firms. So we are extremely passionate about helping you, whether you are a student, an MBA, or young professional, or experienced hire, whether you are looking for an internship or for a full-time position. And on the next page, I just want to give you a couple of concrete examples. So specifically this spring, already 7 of our clients have started working in the leading consulting firms like McKinsey, Bain, Oliver Wyman, or Roland Berger. in different offices across Europe, Middle East, and Asia. And what is really cool about that, they work in different hierarchies. So some of them started as interns, others as consultants. We even have some people who started working as principals, which is like one level below the partner. So we help the people to grow throughout their different hierarchies. Everything is there. And nowadays they are already working and receiving more than 50 up to 150,000 euros salary on the annual basis. And just imagine, how would you feel yourself one day, how would you feel yourself one day after you receive an email from McKinsey, BCG, or any other company saying something like, "Dear Yumna, it was a great pleasure speaking to you last Friday. My congratulations, we would like to give you an offer. Could you please share your postal address and passport details to send you the contract for signing? Looking towards to hearing from you soon. Best regards, Maria, on behalf of the entire HR team." So Yumna and all others, how would you feel yourself that day? Do you think
I won't lie,
make you and your parents proud of yourself? Yes, Yumna. So how would you feel yourself that day?
I was just gonna say, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't hear the question. I just heard how you're gonna feel, and I'm like, I'm not sure what the question is. You mean if I got into the big firms, or what was the question?
Yes, how would you feel yourself the day that you receive an offer from one of your dream consulting companies?
I think it's undescribable. You're hunting, and once your hard work pays off, I think it's the best moment anyone can feel or receive. So fingers crossed, we're getting there.
Yeah, yes, yes, exactly. And I can remember myself, it was back in 2012, it was 10 months before my graduation day that I have already secured my first full-time job offer in Germany. I was screaming like hell. And Ola, my lovely wife, was with me. She already got it, like what happened and etc. And I was completely overwhelmed with my emotions. And you can still feel it. I mean, I'm so passionate, and that's exactly the reason why I'm doing this, because I want to give you this opportunity to feel the same. It's completely insane. It's blowing your mind. I mean, I was just a young immigrant, 21 years old, or no, maybe 23 years old, when I received my first offer, and it was for 60,000 euros fixed salary plus 12,000 euros bonus. It was more than 50% higher than average what my friends have gotten after the university. And I still had 10 months in front of me to graduate from the college. And it was during or right after the financial crisis where the job market was completely sucks. And this is exactly the experience which I want to share with you. And what even made me more happy on the next page, because this happened very recently. So for those of you who don't know, last week I had my birthday. I became 33, and my clients, thanks to all of you, gave me the greatest gift they could deliver to me, because actually 5 of our clients have received 9 job offers over the past 6 weeks in the companies like Bain, Berger, Deloitte, ADO, EY, and others. And this slide is not up to date. because since that slide was created last Monday, 2 more our clients have received the offers from McKinsey and from, I don't know, from another company. There was too many companies and too many job offers announced most recently. And this is exactly what we want to deliver to you. So I want you to be screaming and shouting whenever you are sharing. I want you to be that happy, or I want you to be that happy, and simply playful from joy, and these kind of emotions to share with us. So guys, do you want to get a dream job offer from one of the leading consulting firms? Just write into the chat. Yeah, Fernando, definitely. All right, so then please simply do the first step today and click on the link, Calendly link with Alessa Kim, which I shared before in the chat, and book your first consultation completely free of charge with our expert in the team, so that we can work on specifically your situation and see how we will help you to get there. Because I really want all of you to receive the job offers which you desire already this year. And don't wait, simply click on the link right now and let us make it happen together. This is my ultimate promise to you, to all of you. And with these words, I would really love to give the word to Fernando, who is also our client, and to other clients like Ashwarya, who is present here, or maybe someone else whom I mentioned. So maybe you could also tell from the client perspective, how is the work with Consulting Masters? So Fernando, I know I might be tough a little bit for you from time to time, but this is only to help you out to make it to McKinsey or other leading firms. So please, yeah, now the stage is yours.
Now you always get away with it because it's not Andres, Dimitri, or Florian, the other guys itself. So you played very well in that sense. So from this side, the experience is that the program is super comprehensive, because every week there are 4 main webinars or events: the Q&A, the application strategy, this webinar, and the other one on Friday. So you tackle all of the aspects that needs to be addressed in order to become a solid candidate. I know I'm just a beginner in this, but how long am I practicing? 3
weeks.
Let's say 3 weeks, and in those 3 weeks that Andre counts so sharply, I know I still have a lot of flaws, but now I know the flaws that I have, where to work on. But I feel like I have improved a lot, even from past week. If you can see the previous webinar to this one, there are some improvements. So it's super comprehensive, and it has everything that you actually need to become better.
Fernando, what do you think? What is, I mean, like, why are you here?
Are you still interviewing me, man?
No. Why have you chosen this program, and what is exactly the value of it for you?
So the value, first of all, is having a pool of people in the same situation that are practicing constantly. So whenever I want to do a mock, I just have to put it on the chat group, the VD chat group, and people will respond to me, and we will schedule the mocks. So it's basically, if I want a mock, I just have to write it down in the chat. That's one of the most value-added contributions. The second is, of course, Gaurav and your coaching. I had couple of one-on-one sessions to fine-tune an aspect, or to get a specific role plan of the things that I need to do in the following weeks. So it's very customized, and it's very to the point of what you need to do.
And how do you find our group sessions, or how do you are those messages from other members of the group who received the offers in North America, in Europe, Middle East, or I don't know, Australia, and their learnings shared? Is it useful for you?
Yes, just the last week, was it, that Ahmed received the offer? He shared, he talked for like more or about an hour of all the learnings of how the experience of the interview actually went. And as you mentioned on previously when I was asking you, like to learn from the experience of others. And when you see when you have those experiences in which someone shares how his interview was, or in the chat when everybody's doing mocks, what are the key learnings that they have? When you read them and say, hey, this is something that I actually need to improve to, or something that I wasn't even aware that it was a thing. So it's very valuable to have those perspectives.
Yeah. All right, cool. Thank you very much, Fernando. Aishwarya, or anyone else would like to share their experience as well? Not really sure that Aishwarya is here. All right, cool. Then maybe just next time. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think we have spoken today more than enough. So I simply want to walk you through quickly on the next page through the bonuses, which we will be sharing with you today. So as you already have seen into the chat, I would be extremely thankful to all of you if you could provide us with some of your feedback. What was valuable for you? What was bringing the value for your specific situation? And how did you like our webinar? Whether this was helpful for you, or where do you also see the room for improvement for our team? And we will also give you a brief presentation of this webinar, as well as sharing the video recording for you. But what is the most essential thing for you today is if you really want to break into consulting in one of the leading consulting firms worldwide, and if you want to do this in the next 6 months or within this year, I mean, on average, our clients make it after 6 to 16 weeks after being enrolled with our program. So if you want to become a consultant or an intern in the very near future, then please do the first step right now. Do the first step today and simply book a call with our expert, Lesa Kim. I'm placing here the link one more time for you. So click on the link and find the suitable time spot for you. And in the comment to the link, answer just one specific question which will help us. Where exactly do you need help in order to get into the leading consulting firm? So click on the link below here in the chat, and we will see you over there. And then also follow us in our social media, and please register yourself for our upcoming webinars so that we can actually, so that you can do McKinsey final interview round with us or practice your BCG interviews or Bain interviews in the coming weeks. So you can find this on our website, Consulting Masters. Feel free to visit it and register yourself for specific upcoming webinars. And I will be happy to see you here with our team next week. And now, I simply want to say a huge thank you for you, Fernando, for holding this pressure and being part of this great event for the entire duration. I want to say big thanks to Alexandra, to Michael, to Polina, to Gaurav, to all members of the team who made this webinar happen. And I want to say explicitly thank you to Chiara, to Franklin, to Jeff. By the way, Jeff, it was great that you turned on your camera, and feel free to do this also in our future webinars. Thanks to Oliver, thanks to Bradley, Alina, Mukund, Louise, Layli, Niall, Alexander, and Indrajit. So thanks to all of you guys for being part of it. And we are looking towards to speaking to you soon. So book the call with the client manager today, and I'll see you soon. And I want to help you to get your dream consulting offer. And now I say thank you and have a great evening. Take care.